Welcome to Quarantine with Frank. I'm Frank, and this is a podcast relating to post trauma, dealing with the issues we find ourselves with, COVID 19, coronavirus, and a podcast relating to issues surrounding where we find ourselves today. This is not meant to scare anyone. This is not meant to, in any way, try to downsize what each of us are feeling. But in fact, it's intended to help people through these traumatic events. I suffer post-trauma, and I've been dealing with it for 50 years. And for the last 30 years, I've been sharing and learning and teaching about post-trauma and how it relates to us individually and society as a whole. We talk about these issues. For me, it was finding and realizing that I wasn't alone. There were other people that had the same feelings and emotions as I did, and reaching out to them and learning from them and sharing. Most times I teach people to embrace it as opposed to fight it. Embrace your trauma, learn from it, learn more about yourselves. In learning about yourself and about how trauma relates to you and how trauma affects you, the triggers for trauma, and embracing it and making it a part of you as opposed to trying to fight those thoughts and feelings and emotions. In the past, I've prophesized about more mental health, about preemptive health care in these areas and dealing with post-trauma. And most of the time we find ourselves in isolation, and not meaning isolation per se of being alone with people, but isolation in our own heads and our own minds, and that feeling that no one could possibly understand what I'm going through, and no one could possibly understand how I feel. So these podcasts are meant to, in fact, alleviate some of those issues, alleviate some of those thoughts in our minds, and hopefully be able to move forward with the knowledge, knowing that we're all in this together. It took me years to understand these concepts and realize that there were other people that had the same thoughts and feelings as I did. Just being able to express them, being able to share them is utmost. And hopefully sharing some of these feelings and emotions that we have, or that I have, possibly may help you and may help others, that overall that we're not alone. That's the main aspect of post-trauma, is those feelings of isolation and loneliness. I went through it many times, and realizing finally, realizing that I wasn't alone, that there were other people that felt the same way I did, that went through the same thought process as I did, and realizing that that in fact there were people out there that I could relate to, and relating to them and relating and sharing those thoughts and aspects of each of our own minds. You'll find that most times that you're not that special, that the thoughts that you have are shared by so many people. It's hard when you're in trauma. It's hard to realize that you're not that special, that there's been millions of other people sharing the same feelings and emotions as you do, and understanding that and being able to reach out to those people, and reach out and share those feelings and emotions. And you'll find that most times the person that you're reaching out to is feeling the same way you do. And understanding that and understanding that concept is foremost the most important step that you have to take. And taking that step, for me, it was taking that first step and understanding the concept that there are other people out there that feel and think as I do. And with that, we're going to move forward with this podcast, and we're going to reach out to people that are feeling and sharing their personal thoughts and their personal feelings, and you'll find that many of them are the same as yours. So let's begin and have a sharing session that hopefully will help people, and not only help you, but help the people that are sharing. I find that sharing helps me to move forward in my work. I've always found that I need to do it to move forward. I need to reach out to people. I need to touch people with the knowledge that I have or that I've learned, and I've learned it the hard way. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a clinician. I'm a sufferer of post-trauma, and I find that sharing it is the way that I move forward in my life. And most of my education programs and teachings are about sharing. And so this podcast is meant to share. It's meant to open up an avenue for people to try to understand, a dialogue for people to share their thoughts and be able to together, again, we're all in this together, to be able to move forward and begin the healing process. Preemptive, we're not even at the beginning stages of this traumatic event. We're in for a tremendous traumatic event, a crisis, a mental health crisis in this country, and we're going to have to pull together to get through this. Just like the wars that we're in, we're all veterans now. We're all in the same war together. We're all soldiers. We're all going to be veterans when it's over, and we have to understand that concept of survival. We are survivalists by nature. Moving forward is a survival by nature, and we need to understand that, and we need to lay the groundwork for moving forward. We need to lay the groundwork for when this is over, when we're in it and we're at the height of it, and we're not at the height of it yet, but when we're in it and we're in this traumatic event. And I've learned that through personal experiences. When I'm in the event, it's hard to see the forest from the trees. It's hard to see the end. And knowing that there is going to be an end, there's always an end. Whether we know it or feel it in the moment is hard to understand, but the end is coming, and we need to prepare for the next step and the next phase and the next crisis. The health crisis, the mental health crisis that we should have addressed prior to this. Perhaps this is a wake-up call for all of us to begin thinking about mental health and how we're going to move forward and the crisis that we're about to enter. So these podcasts are about moving forward, are about reaching out to others, and together talking and sharing personal lives and personal stories. And in that, let's begin.